What does this song mean? My whole life, I don't know what this song means. I mean, should old acquaintance be forgot? Does that mean that we should forget old acquaintances? It doesn't mean that if we happen to forget them, we should remember them, which is not possible because we already forgot them.
Welcome to the most difficult week of our entire lives to date.
I don't know about that. Might have been for you.
It was pretty tricky. I mean, it goes without saying, to actually pick definitively the best films of any year,
Let alone a decade.
that's it, a whole decade,
Very hard.
which is exactly what we're going to be doing in this episode.
Yep.
2019 is almost over, and we're on the cusp of a new decade as well, so we've really got to nail down where cinema's been going right. Not only that, though, the next time we'll be recording, the Golden Globes will already have happened.
It's coming around extremely fast. The whole year has just gone in a blink of an eye.
Keeps us on our toes, though.
It does.
Yeah. So we've got a lot to get through. We're not going to do any news or trailers this week, partially because there's not really been any. Congratulations to Sam Mendes and Stephen Queen this week. Check our website out, you'll see why. And yeah, we're going to dive straight in. We're going to start off with our top 10 films of 2019.
I might add this as objectively as well, because I always have two lists every year, because what is probably the best of the year is definitely not my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going objectively, but it's not my personal favourite list.
Okay, me too. I do like an all things considered approach. That's anything from quality, originality, memorability, importance, innovation, all that kind of stuff, and a little dash of personal preference as well. So yeah,
Okay.
mine's an all things considered. Shall I start?
Yes.
And we'll do 10 to 6,
Mhm.
and then we'll meet in the middle and carry on from there.
Yeah.
Regretting it deeply already. No, I'm joking. My number 10 is a film that I don't think a lot of people saw. That was Beautiful Boy.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it. It's based on the memoirs of a real life father and son.
Mhm.
Pretty much, it's a sympathetic look at drug addiction, and particularly the sort of the perpetual struggle of relapse and recovery, and impact that it has on families.
The parents.
Exactly, yeah, the people who are related to the individual.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet, I think, is brilliant. He's extremely convincing.
I really did want to see it. I really did. I just never got the time.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Steve Carell actually puts in a decent dramatic performance as the dad as well, and the two of them have some really great scenes together. It kind of stuck with me. It was a different take on that kind of film that I hadn't seen before. So number 10 is Beautiful Boy. My number 9, bizarrely, Klaus is my number 9 film.
That makes me so happy.
I don't really like Christmas films. I don't really like animated films.
That's why it makes me so happy.
I have to say, though, it is one of the best Christmas films I've probably ever seen. And surely it's one of the best that's come out in the last 2 decades, I guess. I really hope it becomes a classic. The animation style felt really fresh, really unique. It took a story told countless times before, and they reframed it as a really original and unexpectedly plausible alternative. So I would absolutely recommend that.
I'm so happy.
I'm glad you're happy. I really did enjoy it. I came out and I was like, hee hee.
You've actually enjoyed a film that I've recommended, so I'm really pleased.
100%. Number 8 then. I mean, I don't want boys to be a theme in my top 10, but I'm afraid it is. So number 8 is Boy Erased. That's not funny.
Sorry, no, it was more the boys thing. I wasn't laughing at the film.
You won't be laughing when I remind you what it's about.
No, I'm not laughing at the film. I'm laughing at the boys' comment.
This was a film that really needed to be made because it's not a topic that's particularly well covered in cinema. Lucas Hedges, who I actually really, really like, plays the son of a preacher, and he's sent away to a gay conversion program after he's forcibly outed to his parents, played by Nicole Kidman and Russell Crowe. And it's just one of those films that all the way through you're like, oh, I can't believe this actually happened, and that these archaic ideas about, homosexuality being a choice, or that it's a condition that can be cured or prayed away or fixed, the idea that just generally those attitudes still exist today. I think it had a lot of important things to say, and it was really brave to say it in the way they did.
I think that's why there's not so many films about it, because they try to brush it under the carpet like it's not there. It's one of their embarrassing things that they don't want to admit.
Yeah, like a taboo subject.
Yeah.
Number 7, I've put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And it's a weird one, this. I guess it's kudos to the production designers on this film. For the entire duration, you believe that this really is 1960s Los Angeles. And not only that the characters exist there, but you feel like you're there as well, in a sense.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time there as well, because the film's pretty long.
That was one of the most impressive parts about it, the production design.
Yeah. I think, it's Quentin Tarantino, so you can always expect that his dialogue's going to be it's always very casual, isn't it? And I think that only added to the sense that you were in a real world with real people. And I also like how he sometimes makes subtle revisions to historical events as well. So there's always like a real versus not real conflict at moments in the film, which I think is interesting. And to round off the first half of mine, number 6 is The Irishman. And there's not a lot to say about this, really. It's the return of a classic Scorsese film. And he knows the genre so well and his own style so well that you can't really go wrong.
No.
The cast is a standout in this film. It sort of marks his reunion with Robert De Niro, doesn't it? And
Oh, yeah.
Joe Pesci's come out of retirement, and Al Pacino does a great supporting role as well. All nomination worthy this year, I think.
I'm yet to see it, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Once you've seen it, you'll feel like it just joins his gangster film classics. I know you're not too into them, but you'll see that it's on par with a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Mine's a little bit different, but we have one matching.
Oh.
So, my number 10 was Knives Out. Now, I'm going to say now it's number 1 on my personal list.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I just think it was really funny. I thought the screenplay was great. It was just sharp and fast and clever.
Very clever.
And I loved that it was modern, but it had a really great old-fashioned feel to it. A murder mystery, Agatha Christie, really old-fashioned 1930s kind of style to it. And it kind of bordered that. And I love films that are able to do that. The murder mystery film, we don't really get it very often anymore.
No, we
it's a
don't.
really old genre of film, and we don't get it anymore. So it was so much fun to get that again, and done in such a clever way. All the performances were great. So just across the board, the quality was just really great. So
another really good one for production design.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, everything in it. Yeah. There wasn't really anything about it that wasn't really high quality. I just thought it was just so well done. My number 9, it was quite surprising actually. I'm surprised I put it on the list actually. It's Ad Astra.
Oh, right.
I didn't enjoy it so much that I thought, yes, this is one I'll rewatch and all that kind of thing. But objectively, it really reminds me of 2001: A Space Odyssey visually. Hate that film. I must say, I hate 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's absolutely so boring, or it is to me. But nobody can deny visually it's something different.
No.
And it really stands out. And Ad Astra had that kind of feel, that really sparse, futuristic, out there look, empty, lonely. And it worked with the themes in the movie as well. Brad Pitt gave a really impressive performance. Quite different, really, because I kind of think of him as more upbeat. But this was really dark for him.
Yeah, he's definitely taken a serious turn.
Very, very tonally different from things he's delivered before. And he delivered it perfectly. And the loneliness and the depression, frankly.
Yeah.
It really gave you something to think about, as well as being visually stunning in what they created. Number 8 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, right.
I put that on the list as well. There were parts of the film where I was looking at my watch a little bit. It is quite long, and he does really just dive into the world. I think he kind of got lost in it and didn't know where to end.
Yeah.
Some of it was just quite trivial, I thought. But performance-wise, across the board, really. All films that Quentin Tarantino does, the performances are something that you tend to notice.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, production design was frankly superb. It really was. It was like you were in the 60s. And I actually really liked what they did with the ending.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I liked the change, shall we say. Number 7, again, very surprised it's on the list, because it's no surprise that I actually hated the movie. Absolutely hated the movie, and it's The Lion King.
Oh, right.
So, I am getting better, because a couple of years ago it would not have made the list because I hate it So
Yeah,
I'm becoming more objective and more fair. But you can't deny that it was visually stunning, and what they've
absolutely.
created, literally created the world from the ground up. And you can't deny the advancement that they've made, technically speaking, for the industry.
It's a new milestone.
Yeah, which is why it's on the list, because I mean, if you're looking at it objectively, you're looking at what has pushed the boundaries, and that has. So yes, I hated it. I still hate it, but it was visually incredible work.
Yeah.
And my number 6 is Us.
Right. Okay.
I just thought, from Jordan Peele, it was really smart horror with a really great high concept. And we don't get enough high concept ideas, let alone high concept horror.
No.
And it's kind of changed the playing field, I think.
Yeah, he's done really well the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's like setting the bar for what you can do with horror. He's like the Christopher Nolan of horror at the moment.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's making really intelligent horror movies that will make money.
Yeah.
I loved the doppelganger idea. It was just such a clever idea. The performances were absolutely amazing. Lupita Nyong'o, I mean,
Yeah. I really want her to do well this year.
you just can't deny that is masterwork.
Could I jump on the back of you? Because my number 5 is Us.
Yeah.
Well, you've pretty much said everything, if I'm honest. You were right in saying they're really intelligent horror, but it's because he uses the genre as a vessel to make other statements. And what I loved about Us is that hours and hours after the film had finished, I was still unpicking the way he delivers it. It's extremely cryptic.
Yeah. So many layers.
Yeah, and that's just part of the fun of it, I think.
Yeah.
You're never quite sure what it's about, but there's enough there for you to get your own interpretations out of it. So it kind of works on one level as a horror film, on another level as a comedy, because they are genuinely very funny,
Yeah.
and there's this sort of other whatever agenda he's got, whether or not you can work it out or not.
And there's so much in the movie, you're gonna find things that you didn't spot the first time.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to rewatch that one.
Shall I jump into number 4 then on my list?
Yes, go on.
My number 4 this year is Joker.
Ooh.
I really wanted to put this higher, but I'll explain why in a minute. Joaquin Phoenix truly does give one of the best performances I've seen in
Yes.
quite a few years. Yeah, and it's so brave of him and Todd Phillips, who wrote and directed, to take on a character so iconically played before in the past.
Yep.
Both of them together, they've regrounded this character in such an unexpected but surprisingly relevant way. It feels like, again, the comic book genre has been reinvented. The only reason I didn't put it higher is because I was hoping that there'd be zero mention of Batman, Bruce Wayne, all that stuff.
Oh, really? All right, okay.
I just wish they'd kept that completely separate. I wanted this man and this character. I didn't need to know about Gotham's problems.
I just don't think you can.
I think they could have done.
Not for mass audiences.
I did think it diminished the story just a little bit because it took away from Joker. It made it about Batman. Let's just reel it back in and let's focus on the origin of this man first.
Okay.
My number 3 then is a film called If Beale Street Could Talk. It was heartless. I really like Barry Jenkins as a director. Obviously, he did Moonlight a couple of years ago.
Yes, he did.
After seeing that, I knew that I was going to be an instant fan, and I was so excited to see what he would do next. He has a really sort of unique style that's hard to put your finger on, really. It puts his characters at the forefront, and I guess it's because there's so many close-ups and slow motions, and the camera work just sort of drifts effortlessly between characters and around the scene. It is pure cinema magic.
Oh, it is technically very, very well made. There's a purpose to everything. You can tell that looking at it.
Yeah. But overall, it's a really intimate and touching film, and I like things like that. I really do. Believe it or not. Number 2, again, believe it or not, it's the second animated film on the list, and I must sort of add a bit of context here. Technically, this was released in December 2018.
Yeah.
I didn't see it until January, so I didn't want it to be missed off last year's list and this year's list just because I missed it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm putting in my 2019 top 10 of the year.
I think it was good enough that you can include it in any list that you like.
It was still in the cinema.
It was definitely still in the cinema.
So, Yeah, my main reaction after seeing this, and I think I went to you and said this as well, how was that even made, is what I said to myself. I've never seen animation like it, and it's like the pages of a comic book have come to life. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's so much more than that, and having looked at videos now of how they did it,
It's incredible.
yeah, it still doesn't quite compute in my head how much time and effort and thought and precision must have gone into that.
Visually stunning movie.
I guess on top of that, it's a refreshing spin on the Spider-Man story.
I didn't think I'd like it because it wasn't Peter Parker. I was really skeptical going in, but it was so fresh.
Yeah, really funny, great voice cast.
Oh yeah,
Even though I maybe wouldn't rewatch it, I think story-wise it might wear off a little bit if you watched it too many times. But
maybe.
in terms of animation, it's one of the better animated films that I've seen.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to catch up and we'll meet at the end?
Yes, we'll do that. Okay, so my number 5 is The Favourite.
Oh yeah, that came out.
I think it has to be on the list because, well, I mean, Olivia Colman won Best Actress for it this year.
Yeah.
It was a very good performance, and so were all the rest. Across the board, it was just full of great performances, and it was so different. It was such a different spin on a film like that. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
The wall, bonkers. Technically, it was different. I mean, again, it was like we said about Beale Street. Everything had a purpose. Every shot was completely thought out, and you could tell watching it.
Yeah.
That everything had been thought about, that it had been put there for a reason.
It made you notice the style as well. It
Yes,
drew your attention to it.
absolutely, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's got to be there. It was very, very memorable. I do really remember that one, and it was all the way back at the beginning of the year. So that's my number 5. My number 4, I actually watched yesterday,
All right.
and it's Marriage Story
Ah, okay.
with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
It was just so realistic. The performances were fantastic. They really were. You felt that they were really married, that they were really going through it. This is a couple who are both artists in the entertainment business getting divorced, and it is based on his divorce. And you could tell, because only someone who's gone through this could write that.
Yeah.
The things about it that really hit home the most was the bond that was still there. Like, there's a bit where she ties a shoelace,
Yeah.
and there's bits where they do things for each other just because it's that rhythm that they've had because they've been together for 10 years, and
Yeah.
you can't just stop that.
Things don't always work out how you think.
Yeah, you're so used to being together, like little things. It was tiny things that they still did.
Yeah.
And that's what made it really realistic for me. And I just thought it was so, so well done. Adam Driver is fast becoming one of my favourite people.
Me too.
He's having one hell of a year. I haven't seen the report yet, but I am really, really looking forward to it.
I think you'll really enjoy it.
He's one of my standout things of the year is Adam Driver.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson was very good. I could take or leave her, really. I felt somebody else could have maybe done this role, but she did perform it extremely well.
Prior to today, we couldn't talk about it because you
Yeah.
hadn't seen it yet. My only gripe with it was just there were some odd directorial decisions which I just think pushed it a little bit over into the pretentious side. I think it could have just reeled that back in a little bit.
He's done it as from an artist perspective, so I can see why those things are there.
Yeah. When so many aspects are so realistic, those other more artsy aspects kind of took away from it. But then people like Adam Driver managed to bring it back again, which I'm glad he did.
Yeah, I'm glad we both enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me, which made higher than your list, I'm very surprised, was Joker.
Only just, yeah.
I thought you would have it higher. I'm quite surprised.
But I had to be realistic with myself.
I just think, as a whole, I think this film took everybody by surprise.
Yeah.
It was extremely hyped. Everybody was talking about it. I mean, it was the thing that people were talking about. They were waiting for it to come out to see, and it delivered.
Yeah, it really did.
He was exceptionally good, and if he doesn't win the Oscar, there's probably something really wrong with the system, because he he has given the standout performance of the year. And I mean that across the board, actresses as well. I think he has outshone everybody.
Yeah.
And Todd Phillips has been slammed a little bit for this, and I'm really not sure why, because
it's
he's
unfair.
made some really interesting choices, all very stylistically done, but fitting within the tone that you wanted the film to have. The score in this was very, very memorable, and it really stuck out in the film. All parts of it, really, again, are just of a really high quality, and they were picked for very specific reasons. Making overall, what has to be said, is a very, very good film. Not a comic book movie, a very good film.
Yeah.
It's kind of set the bar.
Yeah.
In fact, it's moved the bar. The bar is like, it's just moved. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, it's changed everything. So that, I think, is incredible, and I think that's one of the things that's going to be remembered about this year, and maybe even the decade. I think people remember this one.
Yeah.
And my number 2, I think you'll be very pleased about this.
Okay.
Is Roma.
Yeah.
Not because I personally like it, because I don't very much at all. It was a bit boring for me, I'll be honest. But again, when you look at what it's actually created, he's gone back and created his own childhood, which is pretty phenomenal, really, when you think about it. He's created things like gone back and found the materials and the furniture and gone to places where things happened, and it's meticulously recreated, and I think that in itself is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because a lot of work's gone into creating that, and it was a beautifully made film. It made black and white beautiful.
Yeah.
Black and white does put a lot of people off, but I think Netflix was a good move for it, really.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot more people have seen it than would have done. And it's changed the game. It's going to be a takeaway from the decade, I think.
So I thought this came out last year, so I'm just looking.
It maybe did, but I think I watched it in January.
Oh, that's all right then. Late last year it came out, I think. It was my number 1 on my 2018 list, so I must have watched it then. But go on then, we'll let you have it.
Well, you had Spider-Man, so I'll have this.
That's funny, both of our number 2 picks came from the wrong year. Yeah.
Right, go on then. What's your number 1? I'm surprised now, because I thought it was going to be Roma, so I don't know what you...
No, Roma was my top last year. Okay, so my number 1, it's an unusual choice, perhaps, because I don't think anyone has seen it. It's not an English language film, it's a German film that was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film and Cinematography at the Oscars the year just gone. It's called Never Look Away. And I assume a lot of people won't know what it's about, so to really quickly summarise the story, there's a young boy at the beginning who's very close to his aunt, and she is euthanized under the Nazi regime because of a mental illness, or a presumed mental illness. As a young man, he's an aspiring artist, but due to obviously the climate in Germany at the time, only a certain type of art is acceptable, and it's an ideology that he doesn't really support. Anyway, at art school, he meets and falls in love with a woman whose father, unbeknownst to him, was responsible for his aunt's murder.
Oh my God.
So throughout the film, it's a bit of dramatic irony, really. We, as the viewer, know more than the main character does. Essentially, the film is about his struggle, to make sense of the past and what was quite a traumatic event in his childhood, versus how he can create meaningful art in the present. And I think it sounds really like it's artsy fartsy, but
I didn't know what that was about, and I actually now really want to see it. I really want to see it now.
And just watching how his past then influences art, and how his art influences how he learns about his past, it's just so interesting. I looked this up, and it's described as a coming-of-age romantic drama film. It really took me by surprise. Story, style, performance. I really recommend anyone see it if you can. I know it sounds boring that it's German and it's subtitled.
That's not boring. It shouldn't be boring.
Yes, it shouldn't. I did a foreign language film as my number 1 last year, so this film's called Never Look Away.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. There's so many different aspects, and the guy's actually really doing the art as well, so that's really fascinating to see.
Wow, I really want to see that now, actually. You've really sold me on that.
Love it.
Okay, well, my number 1's not unsurprising, really. My number one is Avengers Endgame.
Endgame.
I mean, it had to be number one. It's 10 years worth of movies, all come down to this moment, and it was an event.
Mm.
Everybody was talking about it. Everybody went to see it.
Even I went.
It's now the most. I know. Well, yeah, even you went. It's literally it's the highest grossing movie of all time. It passed Titanic and Avatar, and it was a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it all kind of came down to this. Whatever people think of the movie, I really thought they pulled it all together.
Mm-hmm.
There were parts of it that I didn't sit with me.
Yeah.
Fat Thor.
Fat Thor can do one.
It was not really overly keen on that. And the way that they kind of did it, I think Robert Downey Jr. was absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I like broke in the cinema. I had to try and stay quiet because if I'd have actually cried the way it made me cry, I would have been like going in the middle of the cinema because I was just literally I was trying to be quiet because it broke me watching that.
I think I was asleep at that point, but
yeah, it had to be number one.
fair enough.
Had to be.
I think from an industrial perspective, and like you say, in terms of phenomenon, yeah, it's changed the landscape of cinema as we know it today. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Can be seen good and bad.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Shall we have a quick look and see what the people said on our poll then?
Yes.
There's a clear first, second, and third place, so I'll announce those ones, I think. In third place, Knives Out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, my personal number one. I'm quite happy with that. Well done. Well done, people.
In the number 2 position is Joker.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. Yep.
And the number 1, unsurprisingly, is Avengers Endgame.
They agree with me.
Other films that got some votes, I won't go through them all because there are a lot. The Irishman, Us, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Toy Story 4, Frozen, Midsummer, etc., etc. Lots of big films.
So the main ones.
Yeah.
The ones that you expect to see.
That's right. It means we've all been paying attention to the same things.
Yes.
Apart from Never Look Away, which you should all go and see now.
That's a good recommendation.
Mm-hmm. So we should probably then talk about the top 10 films of the decade. Now, I just want to point out before we start, I tried to count, and I think I probably watched about 650 films. Which, I don't know if that sounds like a lot or not a lot.
Definitely didn't watch anywhere near. I think I would be lucky if I watch half of that.
That probably means your lists were easier. So, top 10 of the decade. Let's get these out of the way, because this has been a stressful old week getting these together. Could very easily move these around, if I'm honest. You're probably the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the placement isn't so much the factor here. But my number 10, I've put The Theory of Everything.
Okay.
Biopics, I think, are hard to pull off at the best of times, but tackling the life of Stephen Hawking must be up there with the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extraordinary, not just because of the story and Stephen Hawking's life itself and the lives of his family, but in making the film, in particular, Eddie Redmayne's performance, which was phenomenal. And he transforms his body and voice. And it's not just that he's portraying Stephen Hawking, but he's portraying motor neuron syndrome, paralysis, and hats off to the score as well. He died in 2018 as well as Stephen Hawking. So, yeah.
Okay.
Number 9. I've put Call Me By Your Name, which I know you love.
God help us.
In all seriousness, though, gotta say, it is based off a book, so kudos to the book as well.
And you've read the book, which
book.
I'm impressed. Any film that's made you read the book.
Yeah, but pretending the book doesn't exist for a minute. What's fascinating about this and really, really refreshing, I know we don't get that many films about homosexuality, really. Anyway, not any big ones, but with this one, never in the film is the word gay mentioned, and in many ways it's just a film about people, irrespective of their gender or whatever.
Yeah, very much so.
And the relationship between the two central characters just feels really organic, and it slots in very well with the whole Italian setting. I think the soundtrack is magical. The songs by Sufjan Stevens are perfectly matched with the gentle tone of the story. Timothy Chalamet is a revelation, and Armie Hammer, Michael Stuhlbarg, also equally fantastic performances. I know you love that film. My number 8 Won't say too much about it because we've talked about it already. Surprisingly, it's not my number one of the year, but I've put it in my top 10 of the decade. Joker.
Okay.
It's one of the best performances of this decade.
If not many more.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's all I have to say about it.
Okay.
It's my performance choice. Number 7, we've talked about it on the podcast before, Interstellar. We agreed it was one of the best cinema experiences we've both ever had, and I'll never forget that feeling, that visceral, provocative, emotional.
Speechlessness.
Exactly. It was transcendent on all levels. Christopher Nolan has always been great for pushing boundaries, but he does it literally in this film. Again, great performances and score.
Okay.
And just to round off my first half, sticking with the Christopher Nolan theme, Inception. He's back again. Again, bringing to life these unbelievable concepts. I mean, the idea of what stealing information by infiltrating people's dreams, it's on paper, it's ridiculous.
But God, it works.
Exactly. Execution-wise, when you see he's literally bending reality, and he always has us thinking and figuring out what isn't real or isn't really happening. And obviously the climax where you've got this Russian doll of dream within dream within dreams is epic cinema.
Yeah.
So that's my number 6.
Okay. Well, okay.
Come and meet me halfway, Mary.
I have to say again, I didn't really have a 10 to 1. These could move. I really just went for the fact that they were the 10. I don't think you could say some of them are better than others.
No.
Because they're very different. So I have to say that. I also have to say that I kind of tried to go for certain themes. So I picked some based on performance. I picked some based on advancing technology and pushing boundaries. Some of them just because of simply what they were, what they did. They're the ones that kind of stick out for me.
Okay.
So my number 10 is probably the only one on the list that I've picked for me.
Right, okay.
Truly for me.
Yeah.
And it's About Time.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's Richard Curtis,
Yeah.
who I love. It's my most rewatchable film of the decade. I've watched this over and over again. It's such a good feel-good movie. It's the epitome of one. Just the actual theme of the film, to be happy about your life, to be happy with what you've got.
Yeah.
I always feel happy and content and kind of reevaluate my life when it's finished.
Yeah.
And Richard Curtis just writes such a great British film. And Donald Gleeson is just so lovable. Just love him. So that's my choice for me. My number 9 is The Theory of Everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I won't rehash lots of things. I'll just say that I think it's one of the greatest performances of the decade, if not many decades, for all the reasons you said. It's maybe not an amazing film technically.
No.
It's maybe quite run of the mill, but the performances are really something.
Yeah.
So that's what really did it for me.
Good choice.
My number 8 is Get Out.
Ah, right, yeah.
Not my favourite Jordan Peele. I prefer Us.
Yeah, me too.
But it changed the horror genre.
Yeah.
It allowed Us to happen, basically. It got people excited again about the genre. This was smart horror. It proved that when it won the best screenplay Oscar. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Game changer again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan Peele is now a huge commodity. And like you said, it brought up themes, really important themes, in a truly entertaining, for the masses movie that everybody's going to see.
Yeah.
Which I think is so important.
Uh-huh.
He's really getting those things out there for everybody to think about.
Good choice.
My number 7 is The Greatest Showman.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's definitely not anywhere near the greatest film, but it had to be on the list because it was just everywhere.
It was in cinemas for over a year, I'm sure it was.
It's the greatest soundtrack to come from a movie in decades, and I mean decades. The music in that movie is incredible across the board. Not just one or two songs off the soundtrack. The entire soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's the epitome of good old-fashioned entertainment.
Yeah, I guess so. No,
It's not the greatest movie. The acting is not the greatest acting you're ever going to see, but it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. So that had to make the list. And my number 6, I agreeing with you again, is Interstellar.
Yay! There he is.
One of the most memorable cinema experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
And this film, it had to be experienced on the big screen. Had to be. Again, it's Nolan pushing the boundaries. I said exactly the same thing you did.
Yeah.
And it pushing the boundaries with the screenplay and with technical prowess.
Yeah.
Because it really is a stunning film. It's like you look at it visually, and it's like it is wow factor filmmaking. So yeah, that's on the list as well. So we've got two the same in a decade. Can't believe it.
I feel like Interstellar is our film. If we were to have a film.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Okay, these are not a surprise at all, by the way, Mary.
Okay.
Number 5, I dropped it down a place, but Moonlight.
Oh, shocker.
I won't pap on about it like I usually do, but I did look something up. First of all, obviously, not only does it have an amazing success story in itself, how it beat the tour de force La La Land to scoop up Best Picture.
And the surprise as well, because they announced the wrong film.
Got announced wrong.
Only time that's happened.
Yeah, so it's memorable for that alone. But I looked it up, and apparently it's the first film with an all-black cast. It's the first LGBTQ related film and the second lowest grossing film domestically to win the Oscar for Best Picture.
Wow.
Which just goes to show for it to come and just
Yeah.
blaze a trail right through all these other films and take that top prize. Looking even further than that, the film's editor was the first black woman to be nominated for an editing Oscar. Mahershala Ali was the first Muslim to win for acting. The importance of Moonlight, I don't think, can be understated. And in the same way, you saw it in his follow-up film, If Beale Street Could Talk, and not too dissimilar from Call Me By Your Name, I guess. It's just a really personal, intimate, and real film, but simultaneously shot in the most expressive way.
You like the intimate, personal, small movies.
Yeah. Small films that feel big when you watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect example of style servicing story is what I've written here. That's what I really like. My number 4 is Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan's back.
Okay.
Just to sum it up, Christopher Nolan, practical effects, that ticking clock all the way through, jumping between different perspectives and periods of time. So you've got a week of time spent on the land, 1 day spent at sea, and 1 hour spent in the sky. It's still got that Christopher Nolan kind of time aspect in there.
3 Christopher Nolan for you.
Yeah.
He's like your guy of the decade.
He's my guy of my life.
Yeah.
It was intense, nail biting. It's one of those films you watch in the cinema and you've got sweaty palms, clenched fists. I was on the edge of my seat, pretty sure a drip of wee went down my leg. I don't know if it will have the same effect outside of the cinema, which is unfortunate for those people who didn't get to see it, but I think it's also up there with one of the better war films we've had in recent years. So my number 3, again, you can move these around a bit. Birdman. What I love about Birdman, it is bonkers, but
shoot me.
Unravel all that. No, I don't know. Okay. This is directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu, and you can just tell that he's had complete creative freedom here. It's not really based off anything. The style's kind of very new and fresh. That whole idea of having the one take, and it's just confined to like the backstage and the dressing rooms and the stage and the streets around this theatre. And it just sort of bumps into and collides with all the people that you meet along the way, who all happen to be related to Michael Keaton's central identity crisis story. I just love it. Like stylistically, it's so unique, and so well executed. Love that. Which brings me nicely into my number 2. It's the same director, The Revenant. I've put as my number 2.
Okay.
Translate that style from Birdman and move it outdoors. Add some action scenes in, really long extended sequences that play out across vast landscapes.
Punish your actor.
Punish your actors. Well, I was just going to say, Leonardo DiCaprio actually pulls out all the stops for this performance.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Tom Hardy is a really underrated, menacing villain. Not enough people talk about this film. It hits every mark from a filmmaking perspective for me. Direction, performances, screenplay, cinematography, editing, sound, visual effects. It's kind of got a bit of everything, and it's a masterclass in filmmaking.
It's kind of like was talked about a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then it's disappeared.
And I don't want it to.
I definitely need to rewatch it. I've actually got it. I've got the Blu-ray.
Oh, nice.
So I definitely think I need to rewatch it.
Love it. Again, quite small. It feels small, but plays out big.
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
Okay. All right.
Come and meet me.
Okay. Mine's slightly different.
Okay.
So, number 5 for me is Toy Story 3.
I nearly put it as my 10.
It's animation at its absolute best.
Yeah.
It's an amazing sequel. When sequels, especially in animation, are usually not in the same league as the original
No.
or anywhere near. A lot of sequels are like straight to video for animation, or they're just not the same.
Yeah.
This surpasses things that the original did, not just in quality and the animation having advanced so far, but it's a perfect script and it's a perfect ending to an exceptional trilogy of films
Agreed.
in general,
Yeah.
not just animation, just exceptional trilogy. I like the fourth one, but I really do think that they should have just ended.
They didn't need
It was
it.
a perfect ending.
Yeah.
I've never known a film round it out and finish the journey so well. Exceptional.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Gravity.
Ooh.
Again, it's not my favourite film at all, and I haven't seen it since I saw it at the cinema.
Uh-huh.
It's a bit forgettable, really. I think another one. It's a little bit like The Revenant. It was really big and it was talked about because of what it did technically.
Yeah.
But it's disappeared since then.
Yeah.
And this, it doesn't have the most kind of amazing stories really, but it's proved how far filmmaking's advanced
Yeah.
in that time. It was technically unlike anything that had been done before, so that's why it's made the list. My number 3 is La La Land.
I thought you'd have this.
It was a mix of modern precision filmmaking and classic old school filmmaking, and
Yeah.
it bridged the old and the new, which I always really enjoy because obviously I live now, I live in the modern,
Do you?
but I really like old fashioned. I do. It's very present, but I really like old fashioned things. So that kind of thing really works for me. But it is actually a truly stunning film. It's
Yeah,
got some
it is.
amazing set pieces. The music and the score is fantastic. It's by the same people who made The Greatest Showman, and it had fantastic performances in it. Emma Stone went on to win, and Damien Chazelle, he is incredible. He's a genius.
Yeah.
This was following up obviously on Whiplash, and he's gone on to make First Man, which was not seen enough. It just wasn't. And he is one to watch. He's definitely, I mean, he's come into this decade, and I will see every film he makes.
Yeah. Nice when you get that.
Whatever it is, he's going to do it different. He's going to do it fresh and amazing, and I really do get excited for that. So that's my number 3, and my number 2, agreeing with you again, Inception.
Yay.
I think this really shows Nolan at the height of his powers, and how the high concept,
Yeah.
intelligent movie can still be incredibly entertaining and successful at the box office.
I like that.
Before this, you didn't really get that. I think this was the one that really showed that high concepts could work, and that has paved the way for other high concept ideas that are extremely intelligent but work on an entertaining box office level.
It's my kind of film.
It is a fantastic film. So we actually agree on 3 films
I love it.
out of a decade worth of movies.
Hey, you never know. Our number ones might be the same.
They probably aren't going to be, Matt.
No. My number 1, I didn't say a lot about it earlier because I knew it was coming up again. It just sort of naturally fell into number 1 and I never really questioned it.
Okay.
I just know in my heart that it should be number 1. Roma is my number 1 film of the decade.
Naturally.
Looking back at this list of 10, it's not the one I would necessarily return to frequently, but again, it's another masterclass in filmmaking. Even in black and white, and even not in English, it's just one of the most pleasing films to watch visually and otherwise. Every frame is like a work of art in itself. And again, I've mentioned a lot the idea of intimate things feeling big and big things feeling intimate. I think it's a really delicate balance that some directors have. So Alfonso Cuarón in this film, in the way he balances semi-major historical events and how they interweave with the lives of individuals, it's all based around a domestic worker for a middle-class family, but seeping into the narrative, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly, are these political and social issues that surround it. And you just get a sense and a flavour of the time period. It captures it. Again, personal film. Really like personal films. There's loads of them on here. And he's just a fantastic director. I just couldn't fault this film.
Okay. Okay.
Go on then, shoot.
You're not going to like it. It's Avengers Endgame.
I know.
I don't have a lot to say.
I've predicted it.
I have written here that Avengers Endgame is the culmination of a decade's worth of movies, bringing it all together, which has never been done before. And it was a true cinematic event. Again, yeah, it was a game changer and it also was an ending. I like to see things rounded off, come full circle. I really enjoy seeing that.
I'm more of a penultimate film man.
Yeah.
I actually considered putting Infinity War in the top 10.
Mm.
Lower down. But Avengers Endgame, like we said earlier, is an industrial milestone, and it's like a flagpole for fandom ship.
Yeah.
It's made the most money of any film ever. So
yeah, so it had to be on the list. Like you said, though, I mean, this is 10. You could move any of those around, I think, because they're so different.
yeah,
I think they're two very good lists of them.
yeah.
And I'm so shocked that we've got 3 the same. I just can't believe it. You've seen
I'm glad.
650 movies, and we've actually got 3 that are the same.
3 that are the
It's
same.
impressive. I've been putting up on the Facebook page this week 3 movies that define a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, this century, the noughties and the 2010s, I don't really feel like there's very defining films.
No.
The other decades seem to have a feel. So with the 70s, Jaws kept coming up, and stuff like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and things like that. And the 80s was very like Back to the Future and the Goonies and all those kind of things. But it just stopped.
We just stopped having feels, didn't we?
Yeah, pretty much.
We don't say, "Oh, that's a proper naughties film." That.
Yeah, nothing defining like a theme or a look.
Do you think maybe that it just took cinema a couple of decades to find its feet? And every decade kind of had its new thing and a new thing and a new thing, and then maybe we've got to a point where
There's nothing new.
we've kind of had one of everything now. We're not going to have like decade-defining genres or
Well,
anything
the last
like
2
that.
decades have really looked the same.
Yeah.
Again, maybe it's time. Maybe in 30 years' time, we'll look back at the noughties and be like, oh yeah, it did have a definite look compared to where we are now.
Yeah.
But right now, I it's quite forgettable for me, I have to admit. Should we move into the Golden Globes very quickly then?
Yes. So this is important, but we're going to brush over it because I don't think either of us have any idea what's going to happen. I've gone for very stab-in-the-darky choices.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced on pretty much everything.
Okay. Should we just run up the 14 categories as we did in the previous episode, and let's just announce what we think is going to win?
Yeah, so should we start with score?
Yes. I've chosen Joker.
I have as well.
Okay, easy.
Yeah, okay. What about song?
Into the Unknown, Frozen 2.
Agreed.
I'm not sure why, but...
Yeah, I don't think people think of it even in the same respect as like Let It Go from the first one. Okay, so should we go animated next?
Yep. I went Frozen 2 again.
Yes, so did I.
Although Toy Story 4 could come up and steal it.
It definitely could. I have a horrible feeling that The Lion King might get it, and I would be really upset if it did.
It depends on their criteria, because they don't have a visual effects category.
Yeah, I just don't think of it as animation at all.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go with screenplay?
Okay, yeah. This one's hard.
It is, it's very hard.
I think it might be the only one it gets, so I'm going to say The Two Popes.
Really? Okay. I haven't finished the movie, so can't exactly say. It's very wordy though, so maybe.
It's a very dialogue-y, lots of just two people sat in a room having conversations. So.
Yeah. I've
Witty.
actually gone with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I think
Okay.
I'm not sure, but it might be one of the only ones that it gets.
Yeah.
Possibly, depending on how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, what about foreign language film then?
No-brainer, Parasite.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the one I'm absolutely most sure of.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah. Do you want to go supporting actor?
Okay. Real stab in the dark.
Yep.
Don't know why. I've put Al Pacino, The Irishman.
Okay. Again, I haven't seen The Irishman, so I was really stuck with this one.
Yeah.
I've actually gone with Tom Hanks.
Okay. No.
I have no idea why.
No, neither do I.
The Golden Globes really like stars.
Yeah.
Best supporting actress.
What a weird category.
This is my hardest because I haven't seen most of the movies.
No, the fact that we weren't expecting Kathy Bates and Annette Bening to turn up
Yeah, exactly.
threw it all out. This is one of the ones where I feel like I've just gone with what is being talked about, so I've just put Laura Dern for Marriage Story.
I really wanted to go Laura Dern because I love Laura Dern, but I've
Yeah.
actually gone with Margot Robbie.
Okay. I nearly went Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers.
Margot Robbie she's young and she's up and coming and she's been nominated before and she's very well liked, and this is apparently a very good performance
Okay.
amongst very good actors. Okay, best actress in a musical comedy.
Worst category, I think.
I've gone for Awkwafina for The Farewell.
I thought I'd go for her, but it's not that good. I don't think, and it's not very funny.
I know she's won already, which is why I've gone for her.
I'm probably going to regret it. I've circled Beanie Feldstein for Booksmart. I don't know why. If we're talking comedy.
Lots of people like the film, and if it was to get anything, it would have to be here.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Although you're probably completely right with Awkwafina. But hey, sometimes you just got to take risks.
No, yep, we'll see. We'll see. Best actor in a musical comedy. I found this really hard.
Same.
Again, I haven't seen 3 of the films, so
I've seen 4 of the 5. I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit. Real stab in the dark. Probably wrong. I'm thinking, what would the Golden Globes do? So I've picked Taron Egerton for Rocketman.
if it was my choice, I'd pick Daniel Craig. But I really
Yeah.
wanted to pick Taron Egerton, but I've gone with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm very, very unsure on a lot of these.
Yeah.
So, best actress in a drama.
I'm sticking with my girl Renee.
Yeah, I'm going Judy. It's got to be Judy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Judy Garland, so anything that wins for Judy Garland, I'm there for.
I can't see the others winning. I'm looking at the names, and I'm just like, nah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going Renee Zellweger for Judy.
Okay.
Definitely. What about actor for drama then?
Again, I'd like to think it's a no-brainer. Maybe a bit more competition in this one, but I'm still sticking with Joaquin.
Yeah.
For Joker.
Yeah.
If this is the only thing it gets,
yes,
I'm fine with that.
I'd really like him to win, but if he doesn't, I would be really okay with Adam Driver winning for Marriage Story. Okay, should we go best director now then?
Yeah, this is a hard one. I've gone Martin Scorsese, The Irishman.
Have you? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I've gone Sam Mendes.
Have you?
I have.
Sam Mendes.
Technically, I think war films just really tend to have it going, don't they? And especially with everybody's talking about this whole doing it in one shot thing, and I just think this might have the edge. So, best picture musical comedy. This was so hard.
I think it might be random. Knives Out.
Okay.
I put Knives Out.
Oh, I'd love to see Knives Out win it.
I think the critics love it. They might latch onto something that's new.
I haven't picked that, but my God, I will jump if that wins, because I will be so happy. I've gone with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last one then, best picture drama.
Circled one, then crossed it out.
Okay.
I circled Marriage Story, but I think that's more of an Oscar thing.
Yeah, it's an outside choice, I think.
I went back and did The Irishman instead.
Okay. I have gone with 1917.
Have you?
I have.
Oh, see, if that wins, I'd be jumping out of my seat.
I'd be really happy to see it win. I really would. So yeah, that's the Golden Globes then.
And we'll be reacting to the winners in our next episode, which will be our first of 2020. The BAFTA nominations should also be out by that time, so hopefully we're going to be reacting to the release of those as well. It's really starting now. So you've listened to us pap on way too much today, so let's really quickly recommend a film. I think it'd be nice if we both recommended one that's actually in our lists, if we can.
It is in my list, actually.
Yes.
It's Marriage Story for me. I only watched it yesterday, so it is still fresh. But the subject matter, what it was actually about, it felt like real life. It was somebody's actual experiences. It really felt like, yes, that could actually happen. That is probably how a lot of divorces have happened, and the relationships and just the actual complexity of a relationship, that it doesn't just end because you want it to end. There are certain things that tie you to a person, the time that you've been together and the way that you know each other and the intimacy. So yeah, that one for me, I think everybody should watch that. It's on Netflix as well, so it's really accessible.
No excuses.
No excuses, unless you haven't got Netflix, in which case you have an excuse.
I'm going to recommend, just purely based on your reaction today, I'm going to recommend my number one of the year, which is Never Look Away. I don't know how you're going to get a copy of it, anyone, but if you can find it online or whatever, do try and watch it. There's a really good story going on in this one. Yeah, I've got nothing more to say about it. I really thought it was very, very good. And
You sold it well. Definitely sold it well.
thanks.
You did. I really want to see it now, actually.
Please do seek that out if you can.
And let us
Let
know
me
what
know.
you thought of the list and what your top 10 would be.
Absolutely.
Where does it differ from ours?
In general, please keep your survey responses coming. We really, really appreciate that. It's so interesting to find out what you say compared to what we say. And most often you match what Mary said, not me.
What
But
can
hey,
I say?
you're the fans.
I'm with the masses. What can I say?
I'm just an academic. I'm joking. I'm not. Right, okay, so next time we speak to you, as we said, we're going to be reacting to the Golden Globe winners and the BAFTA nominees. And where can you find us, Mary?
So you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at CineChat Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at CineChat_official. You can find us on Twitter at CineChatPod. And we are on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker. And you can email us at cinechatofficial@gmail.com.
Yay!
Yay!
Please keep interacting with us. We really want to get everyone talking about film.
Yeah, we love to hear what everybody's got to say. It's fascinating to hear what everybody else thinks because we kind of think about it all the time and we talk about it all the time. It's interesting to hear what other people think, whether they agree or disagree. I just have one more thing to say, and that is I hope everybody has a lovely new year and we'll see you in 2020.
Ditto.
Scary.
We'll speak to you in the new year.
Bye.
Good day. Good year.